Dave Thompson had long accepted that being a janitor on the Galactic Council's flagship station meant dealing with some weird stuff. Floating maintenance debris? Sure. Self-aware mold colonies demanding citizenship rights? Just another Tuesday. But nothing in his employee handbook covered what to do when you discovered an invasion plot while unclogging an alien ambassador's toilet. Warning: unauthorized biological entity detected in diplomatic ventilation system, chirped the station's AI for the third time that shift. Yeah, that's just me, Dave muttered, squeezing through the narrow maintenance duct with his universal cleaning kit strapped to his back. Human maintenance worker Dave Thompson, employee number 47921, currently addressing a Level 3 waste management emergency in shaft D419. Acknowledged, the AI responded. Please note that Ambassador Crix of the Kraxan Empire has filed 6 complaints about the noise level of your breathing. Dave rolled his eyes. The Kraxan were new to the Galactic Council, and boy did everyone know it. Huge reptilian warriors who considered stubbing your toe to be a declaration of war. The only reason they'd even joined was because of Captain Monica Blackwood, their designated human representative. See, that was the thing about humans in space. Every alien species seemed to have their own personal human hero who perfectly embodied all their ideals. The militaristic Kraxan had Monica, who'd apparently won their respect by beating their champion in ritual combat, using nothing but a paperclip and creative swearing. The hyperlogical Ventari had Dr. James Murphy, who could recite pi to 1,000,000 digits while solving quantum equations in his sleep. Even the pacifistic floatlings had their own human guru, who'd achieved enlightenment by accidentally getting high on their atmospheric spores. And then there was Dave, just a guy with a mop who'd taken the job because the benefits were good and the view of the galaxy was pretty neat. The clog in Ambassador Crix's personal facilities had turned out to be pretty standard, some ceremonial battle tokens that definitely weren't supposed to be flushed. Dave had just finished retrieving them when he heard voices coming through the vent wall. "The Council suspects nothing," rumbled what was definitely Ambassador Crix's voice. "Their pathetic security protocols are no match for Kraxan ingenuity. When the temporal alignment reaches its peak during tomorrow's diplomatic gala, we will strike." Dave froze, his hand still holding a dripping ceremonial tooth necklace. Great. Just great. Of course he'd stumble across a villainous monologue during routine maintenance. This was exactly the kind of thing that never happened to the building's night shift janitor. "But what about the humans?" asked another voice. "Particularly Captain Blackwood. She has demonstrated considerable tactical prowess." Crix's laughter echoed through the vent. "We have already accounted for their chosen champion. The humans' greatest weakness is their predictability. They always send their best, their brightest, their most specialized representatives, but once we neutralize those few exceptional individuals, the rest will be helpless." Dave carefully set down his cleaning supplies and pulled out his datapad to record the conversation. He'd seen enough action movies to know that evidence was important in these situations. Also, the station's maintenance review board would definitely want to know why he was about to go overtime on this shift. "Sir," the other voice continued, "what if there are other humans we haven't accounted for?" "Impossible. We have studied their culture extensively. Every human of note has already been claimed by some species as their representative. The rest are irrelevant. Now prepare the quantum destabilizers. Tomorrow the Galactic Council will learn the true meaning of Kraxon supremacy." Dave sighed and began packing up his supplies. The quantum destabilizers explained the weird energy readings he'd been getting from his cleaning sensors all week. He'd filed 3 maintenance requests about it, but apparently the laws of physics are getting a bit wobbly in Section C wasn't considered a priority issue. Now he just had to figure out who to report this to. The security office would be the obvious choice, but they were staffed by vigilance, and their human representative was currently on a classified meditation retreat in the Gamma Quadrant. The diplomatic corps was run by the Harmonious Collective, but their chosen human was giving a series of lectures on interspecies interpretive dance. "Maintenance alert," the AI chimed in helpfully. "Your shift ended 6 minutes ago. Please note that unauthorized overtime may result in disciplinary action." Dave looked at the quantum destabilizer readings, then at his overtime warning, then back at the readings. He really wished he'd paid more attention during new employee orientation when they covered the protocol for preventing galactic war. "Hey, computer," he said finally. "Any chance there's a human representative available who specializes in dealing with conspiracy theories discovered by janitors?" "Negative. However, the Prozac Hive Mind's chosen human champion is currently available for consultation regarding interpretive conspiracy jazz dance." "Yeah, that's what I was afraid of." Dave shouldered his cleaning kit and started crawling back through the ventilation system. "Guess I'll have to figure this out myself. But first, I need to file my end-of-shift report. No way am I letting an invasion plan mess up my maintenance documentation streak." The thing about working on a space station full of different alien species is that everyone has their own definition of an emergency. The Ventari considered any mathematical rounding error to be a crisis requiring immediate attention. The floatlings held emergency meditation sessions whenever someone experienced a negative emotion. And the Kraxon, well, they'd once declared war on a malfunctioning coffee machine. So when Dave tried reporting an actual emergency, nobody seemed quite sure how to categorize it. "Let me get this straight," said Lieutenant Rodriguez, the human representative of the Methodical, a species that had evolved from what were basically space accountants. "You want to file an emergency report about a conversation you overheard while unclogging a toilet?" "A diplomatic toilet," Dave corrected. "And yes, specifically about the quantum destabilizers that are probably going to destroy the station during tomorrow's gala." Rodriguez adjusted his perfectly straight tie and pulled up a holoform. "I see. And you filled out Form X91B for unauthorized maintenance eavesdropping." What? No, look, this is about preventing a war, not maintenance protocols." Then you'll need Form Y73C for non-scheduled conflict prevention. But first, we'll need to get approval from the Committee for Unexpected Emergency Classifications." Rodriguez began pulling up more forms. "Do you have your emergency classification certification?" Dave left Rodriguez's office with a stack of digital paperwork and a headache. His next stop was the security office, where he found Commander Laura Chen, the human representative of the Vigilance. She was practicing her dramatic poses in front of a mirror. "A plot, you say?" She spun around, her specially designed armor catching the light. "Discovered by a mere janitor? Impossible. We Vigilants see all. Our security protocols are impenetrable. "I have sensor readings," Dave interrupted, holding up his datapad. But are they dramatic sensor readings?" She struck another pose. "Have they been verified by someone with level 7 security clearance and at least 3 tragic backstories?" The next few hours went pretty much the same way. The Harmonious Collective's human representative was too busy composing a peace symphony to listen. The Logical Conclave's champion insisted that invasion plans were statistically improbable during this solar cycle. Even the Paranoid Cluster's human detective said Dave's evidence wasn't mysterious enough to warrant investigation. It was during his 15th rejected report attempt that Dave met Blorp. "Excuse me," said a voice from around knee-height, "but did you say something about impending doom?" Dave looked down to see a small, gelatinous alien wearing what appeared to be an intern badge, and entirely too much enthusiasm. "Yeah, but apparently it's not the right kind of impending doom," Dave sighed. "Not unless I can find a human representative who specializes in maintenance-based conspiracy theories." Blorp's surface rippled with excitement. Oh, this is just like Chapter 7 of my thesis on Overlooked Narratives in Galactic History. A study of improbable heroes and irregular documentation. "You're what now?" "I'm an intern in the archive department," Blorp bubbled happily. "We're responsible for documenting all significant galactic events. And let me tell you, some of the best stories start with someone trying to file an irregular report." Dave looked at his datapad, then at the eager intern, then at the increasingly worrying quantum destabilizer readings. "You know what? At this point, I'll take any help I can get. Want to try preventing a galactic war?" "Do I?" Blorp exclaimed, already pulling out a recording device. This is so much better than my previous assignment documenting the evolutionary history of space elevator music. Where do we start? Well, first we need to figure out how to get into tomorrow's diplomatic gala. Got any ideas that don't involve filling out more paperwork? Blorp's entire body lit up with what Dave hoped was excitement rather than bioluminescent anxiety. Actually, I just filed the quarterly cleaning supply inventory report, and there's an interesting loophole in Regulation 47B regarding emergency sanitation personnel. Dave couldn't help but smile. Finally, someone who spoke his language. Bureaucratic nonsense with a side of cleaning supplies. All right then, he said, checking his universal cleaning kit. Let's go save the galaxy. But first, I need to submit my revised maintenance schedule. No way am I letting an invasion mess up my perfect attendance record. Blorp's loophole turned out to involve 3 cleaning carts, a borrowed environmental suit, and enough air fresheners to mask Dave's human scent from the Craxon's biological scanners. The plan was simple. Pose as emergency cleaning staff responding to an urgent sanitation issue. Remember? Blorp burbled from inside a maintenance drone disguise. You're supposed to be Steve Martinez, the human representative of the janitorial collective. The what now? Dave adjusted his environmental suit's name tag. I made them up this morning, filed all the paperwork and everything. They're a species that evolved from cosmic cleaning organisms. Very prestigious, very reclusive. Nobody's ever met them because they're too busy maintaining the fundamental hygiene of the universe. Dave stared at his enthusiastic partner. And people believed that. Oh yes, I filed it under speculative xenobiological documentation, with a triple stamp classification override. Nobody ever reads those. Blorp wiggled proudly. I'm learning so much about bureaucratic manipulation during my internship. The diplomatic gala was being held in the station's grand hall, which Dave usually only saw during his 3 a.m. cleaning shifts. Now it was packed with representatives from every major species in the galaxy, all trying to outdo each other in showcasing their perfect human champions. Look, Blorp whispered. There's Dr. Emily Nash doing quantum calculations for the Ventari. Dave watched as a woman in a lab coat calculated the exact mathematical probability of the appetizer's nutritional value. Nearby, the floatling's human representative was leading a group meditation on the metaphysical significance of the cocktail menu. Maintenance emergency, Dave announced, pushing his cleaning cart toward the Craxon delegation. Got a report of some quantum destabilization in this area. Very urgent. Much cleaning needed. Ambassador Crix turned to face him, towering over the cleaning cart. A maintenance worker at our glorious diplomatic function? This is an outrage. Hey, you want quantum particles destabilizing your ceremonial battle punch? Because that's how you get quantum particles in your ceremonial battle punch. The ambassador's scales bristled. This is highly irregular. Where is your cleaning certification, your emergency response documentation, your tragic backstory proving your worth as a human champion? Oh, I'm the human representative of the janitorial collective, Dave said, remembering Blorp's cover story. We're very prestigious, very reclusive, big fans of, cosmic hygiene. The janitorial collective. Captain Monica Blackwood, the Craxon's human champion, stepped forward. She was wearing full battle armor and had at least 3 different types of energy weapons holstered at her hip. Never heard of them. That's because they're too busy maintaining the fundamental cleanliness of the universe, Blorp chimed in helpfully. Did you know they once prevented a space-time paradox using only a mop and some all-purpose cleaner? Dave could feel the plan unraveling. Nearby, other human representatives were starting to take notice. Dr. Murphy of the Ventari was calculating the statistical probability of their story being true. The Harmonious Collective's champion was composing a suspicious melody. Perhaps, Ambassador Crix rumbled, we should verify these credentials. Guards! That's when several things happened at once. First, Dave's cleaning sensors started going haywire, detecting massive quantum energy buildups throughout the room. Second, Blorp's maintenance drone disguise malfunctioned, leaving the intern exposed as a very enthusiastic blob of goo with a press badge. And third, Captain Blackwood's ceremonial battle drink started glowing an ominous shade of purple, which, according to Dave's extensive experience cleaning up diplomatic incidents, was never a good sign. "The quantum destabilizers," Blorp shouted, completely blowing their cover. "They're activating." "The what?" several dozen voices asked simultaneously. "Oh, right," Ambassador Crix grinned, showing several rows of very sharp teeth. "Those quantum destabilizers, the ones we secretly installed throughout the station to destroy the Galactic Council and prove Kraxan superiority. I suppose now is as good a time as any to reveal our master plan." Dave looked at his cleaning cart, then at the rapidly destabilizing quantum particles throughout the room, then at his watch. "You know," he said to no one in particular, "I was really hoping to get through one shift without having to deal with experimental physics." That's when the laws of reality started breaking down and things got really weird. Here's the thing about quantum destabilizers: they're basically physics throwing a tantrum. And when physics throws a tantrum, reality gets messy. Very messy. The kind of messy that would normally require a level 7 cleaning certification to handle. Fortunately, Dave had level 8. "Okay, everyone stay calm," Captain Blackwood shouted as gravity started working sideways. "I have extensive training in quantum combat scenarios." "Actually," Dave said, checking his cleaning sensors, "what you have is about 30 seconds before the local space-time continuum gets permanently stained. Trust me, that stuff never comes out of the fabric of reality." The Grand Hall had descended into chaos. The Ventari's mathematical models were giving impossible results. The floatlings' meditation bubbles were popping from existential stress, and the Harmonious Collective's peace symphony had somehow turned into death metal. "Blorp," Dave called out, grabbing his cleaning cart. "Remember last week when we had to clean up that temporal spillage in the cafeteria?" "You mean when the chef tried cooking time travel soup?" Blorp's gelatinous form rippled with recognition. "Of course. It's in Chapter 3 of my revised thesis, Maintenance Protocols, the Unsung Heroes of Space-Time Stability." Dave started pulling equipment from his cart. "The quantum destabilizers are basically doing the same thing, just on purpose. We need to contain the anomalies before they spread. Ambassador Crix didn't account for one thing in his master plan." "What's that?" Blorp asked, already taking notes for posterity. "Somebody's got to clean up after these dramatic villain moments, and buddy, I've been doing that job for 5 years. Dave turned to the gathered crowd of specialized humans and their alien partners. "Dr. Murphy, what's the exact mathematical formula for the station's industrial strength cleaner?" The Ventari's champion rattled off a complex equation. "Perfect, Captain Blackwood. I need you to use your combat skills to distribute cleaning supplies to the East Quadrant. And you, the Harmonious Collective's interpretive dancer, I need you to coordinate everyone's movements so we don't cross the temporal cleaning streams." But this isn't very dramatic," Captain Blackwood protested. "Welcome to maintenance," Dave replied, tossing her a mop. "Drama is what we prevent." As reality continued warping around them, Dave's impromptu cleaning crew swung into action. The Ventari calculated optimal cleaning angles. The floatlings used their meditation techniques to calm disturbed quantum particles. Even the paranoid cluster's detective proved useful, being naturally suspicious of rogue space-time anomalies. "This is impossible," Ambassador Crix raged as his quantum destabilizers were systematically neutralized by cleaning protocols. "You're just a janitor. You can't defeat advanced Kraxan technology with maintenance supplies." "First rule of space station maintenance," Dave said, using his universal cleaning solution to dissolve a particularly nasty time paradox. "Everything breaks eventually. Quantum physics, space-time, laws of reality, they all need regular maintenance. And buddy, you just gave me one hell of a mess to clean up." Blorp was bouncing with excitement, recording everything. "This is unprecedented. A human using routine maintenance experience to save the galaxy. The Archive Committee will never believe it." "Oh, they'll believe it," Dave said, checking his cleaning sensors. "Because we're going to file this incident with all the proper documentation, in triplicate." The specialized humans were starting to look at Dave differently. Dr. Murphy was calculating the statistical probability that they'd all overlooked something so obvious. The Harmonious Collective's champion was composing a maintenance symphony. Even Captain Blackwood seemed impressed by the tactical applications of Dave's floor-mopping technique. "You know," Dave said as he supervised the quantum cleanup, "someone really should have realized that if humans are adaptable enough to be perfect representatives for every alien species, maybe we're also pretty good at just being ourselves." Blorp's note-taking reached unprecedented speeds. "This is going to revolutionize my thesis. But Dave, the quantum destabilizers are still building to critical mass in the station's core. How are we going to stop the main reactor from collapsing?" Dave checked his watch and sighed. "With overtime paperwork, Blorp. Lots and lots of overtime paperwork. The thing about space station cores is that they're basically giant reactors powered by barely contained physics experiments and a lot of hopeful thinking. Add some quantum destabilizers to the mix, and you've got yourself a recipe for filling out incident reports in the past tense." "Status report," Dave called out as their makeshift maintenance team rushed toward the core. "The quantum disruption is at 73% critical mass," Dr. Murphy calculated. "We have approximately 8.7 minutes before total station collapse." "The space-time distortions are making the floatlings nauseous," reported their meditation expert. "Also, I think I just achieved enlightenment in 3 parallel universes. And the Kraxan forces have blockaded the core access corridor," Captain Blackwood added, readying her weapons. "This calls for a dramatic last stand." "Actually," Dave said, consulting his maintenance tablet, "it calls for a routine duct inspection. Blorp, remember that ventilation system where this whole mess started?" "Of course." Blorp jiggled excitedly. "It's going to be Chapter 8 in my thesis. Ventilation systems, the true corridors of power." Dave turned to the assembled group. "Every station this size has maintenance access to the core. The Kraxan didn't account for it because it's not dramatic enough," everyone realized at once. "Exactly. Now here's the plan, Captain Blackwood. Your combat skills make you the perfect distraction. Dr. Murphy, I need you to calculate the exact mathematical trajectory for throwing cleaning supplies through quantum-disrupted space. Harmonious Collective, your interpreter needs to coordinate everyone through interpretive safety protocols. And floatlings, keep doing whatever that enlightenment thing is. It seems to be helping." "But what about the core itself?" Blorp asked, somehow managing to look worried despite being a blob of goo. "The quantum destabilizers are tied directly into the main reactor." Dave patted his universal cleaning kit. "Leave that to me. I've been maintaining that reactor for 5 years. Pretty sure I know which parts you're not supposed to touch better than any invasion force." The plan went into action. Captain Blackwood launched the most dramatic diversion in Galactic Council history, complete with unnecessary backflips and a stirring monologue about honor. The Harmonious Collective's champion coordinated everyone through an interpretive dance version of standard safety procedures. Dr. Murphy calculated cleaning supply trajectories with terrifying precision. Meanwhile, Dave and Blorp crawled through the maintenance ducts, following a path Dave knew by heart from countless filter changes and routine inspections. "Stop right there!" Ambassador Crix's voice boomed as they reached the core. The Kraxan leader had apparently expected someone to use the maintenance access after all. "You really think a mere janitor can stop the might of the Kraxan Empire?" "Nope," Dave replied, casually buffing a smudge off the quantum destabilizer's control panel. "But I've got something better than might." "And what's that?" 5 years of experience with this station's safety protocols and union-mandated workplace regulations." Dave held up his tablet, showing a very specific section of the station's maintenance manual. "See this? According to Regulation 47C, subsection 9, any unauthorized modifications to station systems automatically trigger a complete safety shutdown, including, by the way, your quantum destabilizers." That's bureaucratic nonsense," Crix sputtered. "Welcome to maintenance," Dave grinned, tapping the emergency shutdown sequence, "where paperwork saves more lives than plasma rifles." The quantum destabilizers began powering down one by one as the station's automated systems recognized them as unauthorized modifications. Ambassador Cricks lunged forward, but slipped on the perfectly polished floor that Dave had cleaned just that morning. "And that," Dave said, watching the Craxon leader slide into a supply closet, "is why we always put up wet floor signs." "This is unprecedented," Blorp exclaimed, recording everything. "A galactic invasion thwarted by proper maintenance procedures. The Archive Committee will need a whole new filing system just for this." As emergency teams secured the station and arrested the Craxon conspirators, Dave looked at his watch and sighed. "You know what the real tragedy is, Blorp." "What's that?" "I'm definitely going over my allowed overtime hours for this pay period. The aftermath of the failed Craxon invasion was everything Dave had hoped to avoid. Meetings. Lots and lots of meetings." "Let me get this straight," said the head of the Galactic Council, consulting a stack of incident reports. "You prevented an interdimensional catastrophe using cleaning supplies and workplace safety regulations?" "Don't forget the paperwork," Dave added helpfully. "The paperwork was crucial." The council chamber was packed with representatives from every species, each with their specialized human champion at their side. Captain Blackwood had submitted a 40-page report on the tactical applications of mop warfare. Dr. Murphy was still calculating the statistical improbability of the entire incident. The Harmonious Collective's interpreter had composed a 12-hour opera about proper maintenance procedures. "Furthermore," the council head continued, "you're telling me that the key to defeating the quantum destabilizers was filing a complaint about unauthorized system modifications?" "With all due respect," Dave said, "if you think that's impressive, you should see how many forms you have to fill out for a light bulb replacement." Blorp, who had somehow been promoted from intern to official chronicler of unprecedented maintenance events, bounced excitedly. "The Archive Committee has created an entirely new classification system just for this incident. We're calling it Janitorial Intervention in Galactic Affairs, or JIGA for short." "Yes, well," the council head looked slightly bewildered. "The question remains, what to do about this situation? Every species has their designated human representative, but you, Dave Thompson, have demonstrated qualities that seem to transcend our usual categories." "Oh no," Dave said, recognizing the look of bureaucracy about to happen. "Really, I'm fine just being a janitor. In fact, I have some air filters that need changing." "The Craxon Empire," rumbled Ambassador Cricks, who had been allowed to keep his diplomatic position after agreeing to take mandatory workplace safety courses, "wishes to claim this human as our new champion. His victory through proper procedural channels demonstrates true warrior spirit." "Nonsense," the Ventari representative countered. "His methodical application of regulations clearly makes him one of us." Soon the entire council was arguing over which species Dave best represented. The floatlings claimed his calm under pressure was clearly enlightenment. The paranoid cluster insisted his suspicious attitude toward unauthorized modifications made him their ideal human. "Actually," Dave interrupted, "I think you're all missing the point." The council chamber fell silent. "See, the whole reason humans can be representatives for so many different species is that we're adaptable. We can learn your ways, sure, but we've also got our own ways of doing things. Sometimes that means combat prowess or mathematical genius, and sometimes it means knowing exactly which form to file to prevent an invasion." Blorp's note-taking reached supersonic speeds. "This is amazing. A philosophical revelation through maintenance metaphors. Chapter 12 is writing itself." The council members looked at each other thoughtfully. Finally, the council head spoke. Perhaps we have been too focused on finding humans who perfectly match our ideals. Maybe there is wisdom in ordinary human ingenuity." "There's nothing ordinary about proper maintenance," Dave said sagely, checking his watch. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm already 10 minutes late for my shift, and the quantum physics residue in the Grand Hall isn't going to clean itself. Probably. After today, I'm not actually sure about the laws of physics anymore." As Dave headed back to work, followed by his newly appointed archive assistant Blorp, The council chambers erupted in discussion about creating new categories for human representatives. There was talk of exchange programs, cross-training, and at least 7 different proposals for new paperwork procedures. "You know what the funny thing is, Blorp?" Dave said as they walked through the newly stabilized corridors of the station. "After all this, I still never did get those ceremonial battle tokens back to Ambassador Crix." "Don't worry," Blorp bubbled cheerfully. "I filed them under critical evidence in historical maintenance events. They're now officially part of the permanent archive." Dave smiled and grabbed his mop. The station's halls stretched out before him, filled with the usual mix of quantum anomalies, diplomatic incidents, and unauthorized physics experiments. Just another day in maintenance. "Hey Blorp," he said, "want to learn about the proper procedure for cleaning up temporal paradoxes? I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of those." "Do I?" Blorp exclaimed, pulling out a fresh datapad. "This is going to be perfect for my next thesis, The Temporal Mechanics of Space Station Maintenance, a janitor's guide to keeping history clean." And so as Dave began teaching his enthusiastic apprentice the finer points of paradox-proof cleaning techniques, the galaxy had to adjust to a new reality. Sometimes the most extraordinary humans were the ones just doing their jobs, even if those jobs involved a lot of overtime paperwork.